Supreme Court cases in the 1870s, 1880s that challenged the federal government's right or power to to protect the rights under the 14th Amendment.
Right.
Remember that thing called states' rights?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So after Reconstruction ended, these southern states would say the federal government should not have the right to enforce these rights. It should be the state's ability to do it. Now, the Supreme Court said yes. So what do you think the southern legislatures start doing once the Supreme Court said southern states, former Confederate states, can have the right to enforce the civil rights and voting rights of African Americans? What do you think they did? And so this thing about settled law, right? Plessy versus Ferguson was in 1896, right? 14th Amendment, 1868. Those judges read the 14th Amendment, right? Their interpretation of the 14th Amendment said that separate but equal was constitutional, right? Right? 60 years later, the Brown case, right? Thurgood and Marshall, that HBCU Howard grad, your fellow fraternity brother, Alpha Man, right? He argued before Justice Warren, right? They said that separate but equal is unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
The words of the 14th Amendment did not change. The judges that interpreted it changed. So this should be a side lesson that when you are voting or not voting, those judges, those federal judges that are making decisions, they can interpret what is and what is not. So this is why people are like, well, this is 2025. How are we arguing about what the 14th Amendment says? Right? The same way we argued in 1954. The same way we argued in 1896, right? The same way we argued in 1886 when Native Americans were trying to get their rights as citizens, and the Supreme Court said no. And the Native Americans were not considered citizens until 1924. So in a country like this, when the other side never gave up, there is no such thing as settled law per se. Yeah. And where hospitals allow Medicaid doctors and appointments and things of that nature, when that's cut, when the nursing homes, right, impacted, when SNAP's benefits, free lunch programs, after school programs, that hits Kentucky, West Virginia, Mississippi, Vermont, Idaho, Wyoming. It's not just the 5 cities I like to name all the time: Detroit, Chicago, Alabama, and Atlanta. No. It is going to hit everybody if you don't have a certain income level. So this is a chance where people are going to have to get educated about voting their interest instead of voting against. They'll burn it down and rule over the ashes. That's that mindset.
I believe that.
Yes.
I believe that.
You have people convinced that you have a majority of people using the benefits are people who make up the smallest minority in the country, right? When in reality, they just renamed it something else to make it palatable to other people. You're receiving the same benefits. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But when you say burn it down, rule over the ashes, no, the real estate investors going to rule over the ashes while they're manipulating people at the bottom to bail each other's throat. But that's where we are. But even with all that, I think that the righteous would prevail. I think that people at the grassroots, these advocates that I see every day working for a good agenda, some of the church community, there is hope at the bottom. that's going to, like a fairy tale or some kind of crazy notion a year or two ago, the affirmative action, things of that nature, or DEI, I think we hit on these things, to make it palatable, it just couldn't be African Americans. You have to include everybody, right? Instead of the group that it was intended for.
Right.
And what happened is that even the law or the act that was intended for this group, it benefited them the least. The 13th Amendment, right? And then you had to give them their citizenship rights. And so the 14th Amendment, the key thing the 14th Amendment did first, it invalidated the Dred Scott decision, right? So basically it said that all persons born and naturalized are citizens, right? First thing, naturalized. So if you're born here, you're a citizen, right? Every citizen is entitled due process of the law. That means whenever something happens to you, you have to get your due process your day in court, and all the privileges and immunities that comes along with being a citizen. So everything that Roger Taney said you were not, the 14th Amendment said that you were. Now, subsequent interpretations through the Supreme Court has gone back and forth on what that interpretation is, but to the core, the 14th Amendment basically guarantees the rights for African Americans at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been extended to include Native Americans, women, and other immigrants and other ethnic minorities that came into the country and things of that nature. But on its basis, it was intended originally for African Americans and had been extended to other groups as time has gone on.
Well, thank you. This is why you are the community historian.